Hello. Let's talk about the anxieties of social media. Why does it terrify me? It's supposed to be a great tool of communication, of putting information out there where we connect to people that we love that are far away from us. Um, but I am more comfortable with one on one interpersonal relationships. I want to know, I want to look into someone's eyes and know how they're doing. Uh, if I meet someone for the first time, I want to figure out who they are by looking in their eyes and communicating authentically. Somebody recently told me that I like to get into people's heads, and it sounds a little creepy and intimidating, if you would say. But with that, it helps me understand who you are. Um, Instead of making assumptions, instead of guessing or judging you by how you look, it just helps me understand. And I also like to ask questions. So when I post something or when somebody posts something, there's so many unanswered questions. I want to know, I don't want to be left hanging and sometimes like it just gets exhausting to over explain yourself without a tone. When you're posting something, when someone says something, you don't know the tone behind it. So it just sometimes, causes really negative interactions or really awkward situations. So I tend to avoid that mode of communication. I mean, I do it, but if I want to communicate something, I would rather talk to somebody. Also, like when you talk to someone on the phone, it's a lot more personal than posting or texting them or putting a tweet out there because you hear their voice. And so even if you're not sharing space with them, you're hearing their voice, you're hearing their tone. So for me, that's more of my comfort level. And that's the other reason why I avoid large gatherings. It's with social media, there is so much going on. There is so much information. Sometimes I feel like it's information overload. And how do you save the garbage from the powerful um, messages that you need to know, the educative information that you can learn from? How do you save that? That's hours and hours of time that I don't have. Um, when I say that, sure, we're in lockdown. It's uh, quarantine time. I would rather like be sipping on a strong cup of ginger tea and quietly even, or listening to music or dancing or watching something on Netflix than sieve through information and feed myself with this information that I don't know that is helping me that could also be damaging to me. So I tend to avoid that as well. And the other thing too is, I've mentioned like I want to know who that person is, how they're doing. I want to know their authentic self without, the filters and the flashlights and sprinkling some glitter on a message, so and that's what I feel like is out there. It's people pretending, we want to create a certain image. It's almost like I feel like sometimes, some people are a horribly different version of who they actually are on social media and in person. And how sad is that? How sad is it that at the end of your day you go to bed feeling like a totally different person. You're miserable in real life, and yet you're being glorified on social media. You're being told how beautiful you are and how great and wise you are. And, whether you're just sharing things and other people's information. and not being yourself. That's just, it's sad, because at the end of the day, wherever you go, there you are. You know, if you go to bed as person A and on social media you're person B, you know, what does that, accomplish at the end of your life? How are you going to feel when you've just been living this double life, a life that, you haven't built real relationships, you have not built um, close ties with people that, that you can count on because they're seeing this image of you that you're not. And I'm also really in tune with the spiritual world. So I like that aspect of being in the same space and sensing someone's spirit. I mean, there's a negative aspect to it and a positive. And the negative is, I mean, you can pick up on some really heavy spirits. And so that's why I like to check in with myself. A lot of times I've had people come to my studio or um, to a dwelling, in past years and said, wow, this place is so peaceful. And it's because I check in. I'm an introspective person. What am I carrying? And like I said, the negative aspect of that, you bring home these spirits, but then also the positive is it allows you to create an environment where you feel at peace, you feel safe, and even on days, I've mentioned like when I've been depressed, it's like I've been aware of it and I work on it. I try to, and it might take a while sometimes, but eventually I get there because I'm checking within myself. I'm checking, am I okay? Am I really okay? And what can I do about this? Sometimes, a friend has called me even if I didn't want to reach out, and I've poured my heart out and I've cried and I've said, this is what's going on. And we can't keep living like we're people that we're not. We're creating this image on social media and this glorious life that, how about we take time to actually create that glorious life if that's what you want. Um, so I treasure that. I treasure the peace of knowing that I am me at the end of the day. The peace of knowing one of my best times is, being in solitude, the healthy part of it. It, the solace, the feeling good about myself or looking at myself in the mirror and knowing that today I put out me. Today I put out Olga. This is who I gave the other person I interacted with. This is who I gave the people that I interacted with. And, so it's kind of hard to do that, on social media. And I talked about voicemails before and phone calls, so to say, why those are kind of daunting to me. A friend of mine said something profound yesterday. She said, uh, possibly that's because that's the medium in which you've received bad news. And social media is also a platform where there's been some ugly things happening. People are fighting, and because you want to avoid that, because I really, really treasure my peace. There's nothing like that. There's nothing like, at the end of the day, getting my strong cup of ginger tea and just sitting, even in silence, or even just watching my Netflix, shows. There is nothing like that. It's so comforting, and to know that I've done what I know to do. And I haven't lied to anybody. I haven't pretended to be somebody else. And if somebody walks through the door, they're going to see me as the person they see on social media. The other day, I woke up to, a bunch of voice messages. And why was I afraid, Or like if I get a bunch of messages on Messenger, and forgive me, if I haven't responded to your messages, it overwhelms me. It's a lot, and it just makes me feel like I'm just not going to be able to put in the time to respond to this person. And why even bother? So sometimes I entirely avoid it, and sometimes I just say, you know what, forget it. I'm not going to be able to accomplish that. Also, it's kind of like when I post things online and I, retreat, so I can rejuvenate because that's overwhelming for me sometimes. And I may come back, the next day or a week later or months later, you know, um, and I feel horrible because sometimes it makes you feel obligated to respond to comments, and it's like way past, the posting or the event that was going on. So that's why sometimes I'm like, well, why bother? Because tomorrow I just might not feel like engaging. So I've given myself permission to say, you know what, that's not me, and I'm gonna engage when I feel like engaging. And I'm sorry if I haven't responded to you. It's just overwhelming to me, and that's the person that I am. I've come to accept that that's not me. I This is the world I've chosen, and from time to time I might engage, and other times I might decide I just want to go take a walk by the river. I want to ride my bike rather than spend time online. So, and yeah, it just, it gives me something to myself. I'm a private person, but yes, I share. And when I share, I'm authentic. And maybe sometimes I'm not feeling too well and I'm not ready to share those feelings. So I just get away, I step away. And I want to know that when I speak out, I'm going to speak my truth. I'm going to speak the truth as I see it. I'm not going to lie. I'm not going to pretend to be somebody that I'm not. Um, because we can lie to ourselves, but we cannot defy the truth. Eventually, it comes out. So, who are we when we're not playing the crowd? Who are we without the smoky screens and wanting people to accept us for the person that we're not? Anywho, I just don't want to rumble so much, but talking about people accepting us, I want to have conversations with people, and I want to share conversations with people that are in my life and that have have really just become these really strong, uh, grounded relationships because of that. I'm going to talk to a friend of mine, one of my best friends, my sister, older sister. Uh, well, she's become a sister to me. And we're just going to talk about our journey and how we met and what gives us females this longevity. How can we do that? A lot of times, the media highlights, the cat fights and women betraying one another. And I've been betrayed, a lot. So maybe that's the other reason I stay away from people a lot and I avoid crowds or like, engaging sometimes because I've been betrayed and by females a lot, especially the past year. But I want to celebrate, the authenticity and the beautiful, the beauty that's come from being myself and allowing, being vulnerable and allowing, another person to see me and my soul. And I want to share that so people can reflect and people can also look into their lives and say, who do I have? Who do I know that I can count on? And it took me a long time to actually feel and accept love. But it brings me so much joy and peace to know that I can tell you that there are a few people in my life that I am blessed that sometimes I'm like, do I even deserve them? That I am blessed to know that, to have that comfort, to know that they love me, that confidence that I can count on them, whether they're sharing space with me or they're far from me. But, in having built those relationships because of being myself and putting my authentic self out there. So those are some of the things that maybe I've found that make me terrified of social media because I want to connect spiritually. I want to connect with a person interpersonally. I want to understand who they are, what makes them them. However different they are from me. Uh, that's the beauty. That's the beauty we have. And I know, I mean, I know there's a lot of good going on online, but I've accepted that, this is my world that I want to live in. And And if you're like me, just share that with the people in your life and they'll accept you. They'll actually, um, you'll have deeper connection and more meaningful relationships when you do that. They will know who you are. And when the phone's away and the computer's down and you need to be, you have a crisis in life, they will stand by you. They will know that, they'll know your heart. So for me, as I interact with people, there is nothing more comforting than them knowing my heart. We love to be understood as human beings. And so I prefer for me to cultivate relationships and that are outside of the smoky screen, so to speak. So, well, um, that's it for now. Have a beautiful day.